Welcome back to the Comic Watcher Show. I'm Matt, he's Mike. Welcome back after a little hiatus, COVID related. We're here. We're sorry we've missed out on so many things worth talking about. I feel like next week we'll have probably some Comic-Con stuff to talk about. Yeah. And there's been a whole lot of things happening in the world of comics in the last 3 weeks since we last discussed all this good stuff. Mike, let's just spitball a bit. Like, what in the last 3 weeks has really just caught your eye in the world of comics? Before we get to tonight's big feature, of course, Thor, Love and Thunder.
Not Love and Thunder. I think probably the biggest thing probably be the new Sean Lewis book.
Of
Snakes.
Okay.
We
do love Sean Lewis around here.
I do. We do. Who doesn't?
He's a cool dude.
And you got
it's
the new.
Almost like we should have him on the show again.
A lot's happened since he was on because we had him. Right when Bliss wrapped up.
Yeah, it was well before King Spawn. So there's a wealth of things we could discuss with our Mr. Lewis.
Yep. Oh, and don't forget Count Crowley getting ready to wrap up.
No doubt. We haven't talked about that. We love Count Crowley. David Desmalchian was our very first interview on the show, believe it or not. And Mike, have you been reading the new volume of Count Crowley?
I have.
Does it hold up against the original?
Define hold up.
Well, the original was like an instant classic, so
I think this will be an instant classic. Okay. I think this will be like say like Halloween 2.
Okay.
There's good stuff, and there's some stuff that's kind of but there's some stuff in 4 in the last because it's only a 4-issue miniseries, just like Volume 1.
Right. Just never enough real estate.
Right. But I think Volume 2, Issue 4 might be even more of a cliffhanger than Volume 1, Issue 4.
Okay.
So so some pretty decent stuff, and you got a few surprises with Jerry and being anointed. She's not being anointed, but yeah, they get into some really cool, classy monster stuff in pure Desmalchian form.
I got you.
Lucas Kettner is amazing on colors as well. So yeah, it's still a phenomenal series.
Look at you, Nate, calling out the whole creative team, or at least the color. Dude, I got to tell you,
what about you, man?
Right before we, pardon me, dry throat, not COVID. Right before we took our little sabbatical, Do a Power Bomb by Daniel Warren Johnson and Image.
Started. How is that?
Oh my God. If you love Daniel Warren Johnson, you'll love this comic.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Daniel Warren Johnson?
Look, Cody. Loser. He's not around anymore. We love you, buddy. We wish you all the best at Valiant Comics. But anyway, if you had the emotional resonance with Murder Falcon that I did, I think Do a Powerbomb is going to, and I mean, we've only had, issue 2 came out today. I haven't read it yet. It's a 7-issue miniseries. I really think that this miniseries has the potential to stand shoulder to shoulder with DWJ's best, Beta Ray Bill, Murder Falcon, Extremity, all that good stuff. Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. And I say that. Well, listen, man. The whole thing is about wrestling and about family, and I'm sort of like, I'm not a wrestling fan, but I like wrestling as I like things about wrestling. Okay. Like documentaries or biographies on the Macho Man or Jake the Snake Roberts or something like that. Like, there was a wonderful series that Image put out a few years back called Ringside. It was by Ray Fox, and it was a crime comic that was sort of set in the world of not ready for primetime wrestling. And it was just really cool. Like, there's something about the drama, manufactured and other, very real, about the world of wrestling that lends itself quite well to fiction. And Dua Powerbomb's premise has to do with a famous wrestler, and she's at the height of her game, and tragedy strikes. And 20 years later, her daughter is struggling to live up to her mom's memory. And along comes a demon from hell to tempt her. And I mean, like, it all sounds, when you just say it out loud, it sounds kind of silly. But then again, so does Murder Falcon. So what do I know? I'm telling you right now, Duo Powerbomb is going to be one of the most talked about miniseries, or just series in general, of 2022 when it's all said and done. So,
on that note,
let me yawn because I still don't. I may not be coughing and with the brain fog anymore, but I still have not regained all of my strength from COVID.
But speaking of wrestling, have you, and then just kind of, like we said, we're just watching the biographies and stuff. Have you watched Stephen Amell's show, Heels?
I've heard of it, and it sounds pretty interesting.
That's dope, man. Like, you don't even have to be like into wrestling. You know what I'm saying? You could just, like you said, just check out the biographies and the stories, and kind of like behind the scenes. But it's really cool because it's about a generational wrestling family and how kind of like, like when we were kids and the territories were big, and it kind of goes from that angle until like this big company buys out all the territories. And so Stephen Amell is, and his brother and all their friends and stuff, they're kind of managing to kind of keep the family business going in this small, like, one territory and stuff. I think I'd have to double check. It's on FX. I think it's an FXX show or something like that. But I think they're filming a new season now, but the first two should be like on Hulu or streaming somewhere. I'm sure they're streaming somewhere. But yeah, I mean, hella good. Yeah, really cool, man. Like I said, it's just a good story.
That's why I haven't seen it. It's on Stars, and I don't get that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think we get it through like Hulu because we don't have Stars. So, but yeah, definitely check it out for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounded interesting, and I mean, props to Stephen Amell for finding something to not only to do, but something different to do post Arrow. You know,
solid, good on him.
Yeah. And he's legit. Like, dude competes on American Ninja Warrior and stuff like that. He's not just Felicity's husband as a character. He's really that athletic and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, because I don't walk around without a shirt on anymore, so I go completely clothed. He just,
well, if you're not walking around without a shirt and doing the thing with the pull-up bar, where you do the klong and take it up to the next level and klong and up to the next level, you're just not doing it right. But Stephen Amell does it for real, and
I do it right. And my shoulder pops out, my arm rips off.
Brother, yeah. I don't think my shoulder will ever be 100% healed from shoulder surgery last year, but so it goes. Yeah. So
rough.
Well, nobody cares about my aches and our old man aches and pains. They shouldn't. We're old news. We're the last generation. Oh, we're the elders now. We're both over 40. We can remember life pre-internet, so that makes us the elders. There's nothing you can do about it. And however, that gives us sage wisdom, but not in a boomerish way. Hopefully. Not for another 20 so years, I hope.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
And then we're that is yelling on the at those pesky kids.
Listen, man, I would say they need to stay off my lawn, but my lawn is brown and dead from this gnarly ass heat wave. So who cares?
There's always something to do about climate, but I don't know.
What do I know? It's not like I have the power to declare a climate emergency or anything like that, and then just didn't. Nothing like that. No, that's silly talk. So, cray. So anyway, the topic of discussion for the night's show. Let's dive into Thor: Love and Thunder. It's been out a week and a half now, couple weeks basically. We're of course a little behind the times on getting to talk about it, but man, this is absolutely a divisive Marvel movie. It's got some haters, and even the people that like it are like, well, I liked it, but I don't love it. So let's just dive into Chris Hemsworth's fourth solo outing as the God of Thunder, his 9th overall. Mike, let's just get into it. Thor: Love and Thunder. What did you think?
I mean, overall, I thought it was a dope picture. Definitely worth the buy. Even get the extended version. Why not? I mean, there was a few things that I thought. I think the biggest thing for me that kind of fell, I want to say completely flat. It didn't totally miss, but it was kind of like you thought you were at the peak of the mountain. You're like, oh, it's getting ready to happen, and then it started snowing and I'm slipping off this mountain, but it's okay. But gore, I wanted more gore. Gore
the God Butcher, Christian.
Yeah, Bale. I didn't need, and I saw some reviews and some they wanted to, excuse me, to talk, tell the full story with his wife and all that stuff, and I get that, but it was mentioned, but I don't think what we needed was the full origin.
No,
rather
we don't
have the name, God Butcher. I don't need to see the death of every god, but a trail to see him do the trail of destruction. I think would have added that layer that Love and Thunder kind of felt that it was missing.
I mean, it's a pretty long-standing complaint against the MCU that they typically have one-dimensional villains, right? And Phase 4 has continued that trend. I mean, Taskmaster was literally a faceless nobody with no dialogue. God, I'm going blank. But what's his name in the that's what I'm trying to spit out. Warlord Crow in the Eternals was so inconsequential to that movie that you could have removed him completely and the movie would have worked exactly the same.
Well, Eternals was a bit of a mess. I don't think it was the right.
And I mean, maybe we can get into that a little bit deeper in the episode when we start talking about like Phase 4 and Marvel overall. But okay, Spider-Man. We didn't just get some villains though. We got all the villains.
Every last damn one of them, which was done. Worked out perfectly, magically.
Yes, and that was fantastic. We got Tony Liu in Shang-Chi. He did great as the Mandarin. I need to find more movies with him in it because he was really, really great and nuanced. And, and so it goes, right? And that doesn't even get into the D+ shows either that we've had thus far, their main villains. I mean, of course, we've had the setup from Kang and you have all the crazy shenanigans in Moon Knight and all the crazy shenanigans in Ms. Marvel, and that's fine. But when it comes to Gore the God Butcher, like, they gave us just enough to give him a tragic backstory, right? It's like, okay, we sympathize with where you're coming from and why you don't like the gods. And then he takes it too far. Classic Killmonger.
Sure.
Arc, I think. Because the best villains in the Marvel universe to me are the ones like Killmonger, where you can see their point, but they're just taking it too far.
Right.
Right? Like, hey, yeah, you know what? Killmonger, you're not wrong, but maybe don't start World War III. Etc. Again, Gore the God Butcher. It's like, yeah, dude, you totally deserve to be an atheist and an angry one at that.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, computer. And a very angry one at that. But wow, my box
exploded into fire over there because of the heat, right? What's going on over there?
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Wow, that's super weird. But anyway, maybe it'll stop in a minute. So, computer.
Good times.
So my computer is in the process of shitting the bed. Mike, what do you think about Thor
Love and Thunder? Yes. So we will continue. So with Gore the God Butcher, like I said, I don't need to see, his whole destruction and how he got there. But the thing is, just giving us that little taste, just enough to keep us hungry. And, you're almost like, well, maybe he's going to come back, or maybe, there's a cliffhanger at the end and we'll get more. And we didn't. And so it's kind of like, well, the movie's good. The movie's really good. It's fun. There's tons of fun parts in it, and it keeps you interested. At least I think it keeps you interested. But at the same time, you had this really cool portrayal of Gore the God Butcher. That's a great name for a villain. I mean, it sounds like something you would find on an 80s man record or something, and like the leather bracelets, looking like Carrie King and shit from 87. But yeah, that was just one of the things. And I was talking to the missus about stuff that she thought fell kind of flat or missed the the point. And I missed this. It didn't even really register my radar, but she wanted more Jane Foster, and especially when Jane became Thor, in that part where Mjolnir recreates itself, and Jane gets the powers, and she comes into New Asgard and everything. And it was just oh, she's here. Well, it's like, how did she get here? You kind of miss that. It was just like there was no transition. We didn't see, you introduced us to her vulnerabilities, and you gave us, you tugged on heartstrings. But then when it was her turn to take up the mantle of the God of Thunder, it was just like, oh, I'm here. I mean, did she take an Uber? I mean, how did you get here? I mean, the nerds know, but what about the people that aren't as deep into the lore, deep into the comics, or knows how she got there, And I just think that was, I mean, those two things, those couple things, I mean, they're minute, and it doesn't, I don't think it took away from the movie, I mean, is it getting a little bit of heat? Sure. But what I think we're starting to see is a familiar I always shit that word up. The familiarness of what we've been used to with the MCU, and 3.5 hour opuses of superheroes, and they got time to explain, and they can go back and forth and set up and and all this stuff. But with Thor, with Love and Thunder, It was 2 hours. It was a fast-paced part action rom-com a little bit, had some rom-com in it. And not a bad thing, but I just think it's one of those things where you go in with preconceived notions of what it should already be. And when those preconceived notions don't check that box and all those wickets aren't met, you're sitting here going, oh, this was horrible. Oh, this was that and this and the other. Now, and again, depending, I think, with any type of criticism, especially in the stage of the internet and social media, you kind of, I would say, be mindful of where you're reading, the discourse, just because it might not even be true discourse. It could just be a troll. It could be whatever. It could just be people just trying to be shitty to people because they like stuff. We see that with Star Wars all the time, and you're starting to get this, excuse me, you're starting to see that a little bit. I think with the MCU and especially with Phase 4, that the familiarness is there, but are the fans willing to kind of move on, because it's not going to be, it's still a blockbuster, but it may not be an Avengers or an Iron Man type of blockbuster, and it didn't kind of help when they kicked off Phase 4 with the Eternals. I believe, was it the Eternals or no? No, the Eternals didn't kick off Phase 4, did it?
No, Spider-Man did.
To help with Spider-Man, but the launch of the Eternals didn't help with that. I just think it was a bad timing.
Okay, so let me come back to something that you said that I think is really hitting the nail on the head with part of the discourse on Love and Thunder right now is we've been. I'm trying to. Yes, hi Bobo, little chunky fucker. Anyway, we've. At the end of Phase 3, we hit this giant peak, right? Endgame. And it's the culmination at that point of 10 years worth of movies. But we forget that when it started, it was just all the pieces getting put into place, right? It's like, okay, here's your Iron Man movie. Here's your Thor movie. Here's your Hulk movie that we don't talk about. Here's your Captain America movie. Oh shit, Avengers, look at that, right? And then, of course, Thanos is, of course, the stinger at the end of Avengers, and now we have an idea as to where we're going with all of this interconnectivity. Cool. Yeah. So that story ends with Endgame. Mm-hmm. In a sense, we're really starting fresh, but the difference is with Phase 4, Marvel has all of these pieces in place already rather than starting fresh. So I think what we're seeing a lot of is they have their plan. They know where they're going. They know where they're going with Kang and all of this stuff happened on the Loki show. And that's my official name for it, though, is the Loki show. And
so good.
Yeah. But because we're not necessarily seeing it built from the ground up, it feels a lot less organic. It feels more scattershot, right? It's like, it's cool. We had WandaVision, and then we had connecting to Multiverse of Madness, and all of these discordant threads are starting to come together, but they're not there yet. And because we've been, for lack of a better term, groomed by Marvel to have these certain expectations, spoiled, thank you, certain expectations as to what we can expect and what we should, fanboy entitlement, expect from these films. We're looking at it from the, well, I know what you're capable of, why aren't you giving me that aspect, right? So, and and to complicate matters even more now, it's like we have to include the D+ shows. They're not standing alone.
No,
right?
they're weaving, they're interconnected with
Yeah. I mean, like I just said, WandaVision directly goes right into Multiverse of Madness. So there's a lot of that. And it's kind of because you've got the stuff that we already know, that's the pieces that are already in place, plus all of the new stuff, it's kind of lending itself, I think, a little bit to the MCU starting to feel bloated. And the thing that made it, and I kind of had this fear for a while, and I think we're starting to see it percolate a little bit, but the thing that made the MCU special, all that interconnectivity and all that setting up the next thing, and oh my God, you have to sit for the end of the credits, all of that is starting to bite it in the ass. Because it's getting harder and harder for a Marvel movie to simply exist in its own merit, right? Like, I'll go back to the well of both Loki and WandaVision. Those are completely dependent on you knowing what's happened in the past on in the MCU. Ms. Marvel, as long as you know that there's a Captain Marvel out there, you're pretty good. Moon Knight totally stands on its own. It's the only thing that totally, like, there is no connection to the broader MCU in that show, and I love that. I love that for it. Very much like Bobo. And they run the risk of, on the one hand, alienating outsiders with all this interconnectivity, because it can be a turnoff. It's like, I gotta know how much from how many movies to get into this, but also the perceived dip in quality in the movies, it could also be alienating to the longtime fans. Now, look, I'm ride or die with the MCU. Okay, I love Marvel. I breathe Marvel. I am a Marvel guy. I will be there until the bitter end, whenever that may be. Maybe never. But you know, there's a few flies in the ointment right now. You brought up Eternals. That's a movie with a lot of issues, and it's kind of fresh on my mind because it's not only the only MCU movie I did not see in theaters, but I also didn't rush to see it when it came to D+.
Right.
You know,
you were just kind of like, oh, the Eternals.
Yeah. Oh, the Eternals. You know, it would have been a different story if everyone was raving about how great of a movie it was. But in my opinion, I think it's absolutely the weakest of the, here we go again, of the Marvel movies for a lot of reasons. And that is a whole nother show that we can get into. Come on. Boy. Come on, computer. All right. So, damn it, Bo. This show is just trying to kick me in the ass tonight, Mike.
This is the greatest show ever, I swear.
Great. And we haven't even been drinking. No, I haven't.
Water. I'm doing water tonight.
Moonshine. But to get back to Love and Thunder, right? Which is where we started.
Yeah.
I like looking at that movie in its own rights. It did exactly what I was worried Taika Waititi was going to do after Ragnarok. Because I love Ragnarok. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. And it's one of my favorite MCU movies because it's such a great balance between the humor and the drama, right? It's very Buffy-esque in that regard. And since, and since I could write a treatise on Buffy from my years of fandom, that's why I connect with it as well. But I thought to myself for years afterwards, I really hope Taika Waititi doesn't double down on the humor with this next Thor movie. Like, I hope he's done the humor thing. I want to see him go in a dramatic direction now. Well, he leaned
You didn't get it.
really heavily.
You definitely didn't get
into
it with
the
this.
joke. And like, I'll be honest with you, like the first probably 20 or 30 minutes of the movie, I was just flat out not enjoying it.
What?
I wasn't. It was just like joke that doesn't land, joke that doesn't land, joke that doesn't land, joke that doesn't land, just boom, 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 rapid fire. And almost like, slow down. Stop overdoing it with the gags. And this isn't, I mean, you can, it's a action comedy / rom-com. Good observation. I like that quite a lot. But it's not supposed to just be a comedy. And that was the direction he really took. And because he took so far of a lean with the gags in the first roughly half of the movie, the dramatic stakes just never felt like they were there for me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like,
go on.
No, I was saying, and another thing that sticks out, I mean, I don't take this as a bad thing, but it feels like it's two different movies.
It does.
It really does. Like, I enjoyed, I mean, I'm a cornball anyway, so I mean, I Bully and Dynamite, shit like that. So all the corny jokes, the stuff with Stormbreaker being jealous of Mjolnir, I thought it was
that. I thought that was kind of funny.
Loved it. But it's like, I don't know, it just, I don't know, it did. I mean, I get what you're saying, because the jokes were like fastballs in the ninth inning, you know.
Yeah, and like, it might have been a different story if the gags were landing, right? But you know, perfect example: Thor doing the splits to stop those two shit or attack crews or whatever the fuck they were. It's just not funny. It's just silly for the sake of silly, and
it is. It is,
but it didn't work. It just didn't work for me. I love Taika Waititi. I've seen his other stuff. It's really damn good. He's obviously a director of a pretty singular vision.
Yeah.
I just think he leaned too far in the one direction this time for it to land. And you know what? Maybe second time I see it, now that I know better what to expect, I'll come away with a better opinion of it. It could be. But can we talk about Russell Crowe's like weird, vaguely Greek accent?
Yeah, and the thing is, that part actually, if there was anything that like missed, that part just seemed like it was out of, I don't know, it was weird, because it's like, I like Russell Crowe.
I love Russell Crowe.
But the voice around the world. They needed to do a different voice with Zeus. It just, like, that part seemed odd to me, seeing Thor, you know, doing the splits or being, you know, riding these, you know, the yelling goats and, you know, shit like that. That's funny. That was good.
The goats, which were funny the first time.
Right. Not the
we just kept doing the same yelling goat, screaming goat gag over and over again.
Oh, I love it. But the voice, for me, Russell Crowe's voice was just kind of, like, I enjoyed the part. It was funny, but his voice was just kind of weird. I don't know. Wasn't like...
Well, he was... I mean, I really just felt like he was chewing scenery, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Okay. Like I thought about that, like
oh, here's the silly Zeus. Okay.
That part...
I like the idea behind... Sorry, I keep cutting each other.
Oh, go ahead. Go.
I like the idea of him being dismissive of the threat of gore, because the reality is he's scared of gore. I like that a lot. And I really wish that they had played that up a little bit more, because that could have been the moment to actually lend a little three-dimensional character building and gravitas to Zeus.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating, because the uselessness of all of these gods kind of proves Gore's point. The uselessness and self-indulgence, I should say.
You caught that, huh?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a mild. They didn't hide it. I'm sure a lot of people picked up on it and stuff like that. But yeah, they definitely didn't hide it. But yeah, Russell Crowe. I mean, that whole part was fun. But I don't know. He just seemed Russell Crowe didn't fit in that part.
I think Russell Crowe could have fit in that part very well, though.
Could have.
Like, man, dude, come on. Think back to brother in Gladiator.
See, Gladiator's
that guy, that dude as Zeus.
Gladiator's all right.
I'm talking about listen, you don't mess with Gladiator. It is the last great movie Ridley Scott made, sir. And think about his performance in that movie, and now it's like, okay, that's Zeus.
Right.
That would be awesome. I could dig on that. Just saying.
That's fair. I can take it. I can take it.
But anyway, I mean, and like to kind of build on something you were saying, the stuff with Jane Foster, it was like weirdly kind of just there.
There, right? Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the thing was, when she was looking at the pieces of Mjolnir in New Asgard, and it started to fiddle and this and that, people were then I shouldn't tell you I'm not really a huge fan of Gladiator, but we'll talk about that later. But no, I just thought that that her looking at the pieces of Mjolnir, and it's surrounded by guards. And it was like, so the guards are just going to stand there while the hammer reforms, goes to Jane, and we're just going to start fighting stuff. And there was no buildup. It just happened. And then 2 scenes later, Thor, runs into, Queen Valkyrie, and she was like, oh, that's a friend. You know her, or, it's an old friend or something to that extent. And it's like, poof, Jane Foster's Thor. It goes in line, I think, with Gore the God Butcher, where we should have saw a little bit of destruction, but we got no destruction. We heard about it and we saw the aftermath, but it would have been nice to join the field trip. And I just, with Jane and Gore,
100% agree with that.
We should have been awarded with a field trip. I'll be in a small field trip. Give me a couple minutes with it, and then go on and shoot whatever. But I think
there's a vast span from that initial encounter in New Asgard between the Thors and Gore and his shadow demons or whatever.
Right.
And then the end of the movie, there's just no Gore. We're talking about him a lot. Oh crap, he kidnapped these kids and he'll occasionally pop up. But the atrocities that he's supposedly committing out in the cosmos just aren't there. Right. And again, missed opportunity to really portray some stakes.
Even the cat wants to get out.
Now it's another cat.
What are you, the Tiger King over there? How many animals you got over there?
10.
Jeez.
Since you asked. Oh, is it 11? Oh, that's right. 4 dogs, 3 cats, 2 rats, and 2 guinea pigs.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Oh, PetSmart loves y'all.
As does the veterinarian. But
so next week on the Comic Watcher Show, vet bills and you.
Special guest, Animal Man. We're just gonna get Grant Morrison on the show, and they're gonna be speaking as Animal Man. Yeah. And then we have this great Pyrenees who thinks she's a cat. It's rather hilarious.
Oh yeah. Oh, good stuff.
But all in all,
so
Call of the Wild, baby. All in all, I get why people are divided on this movie, because it like our commentator, Mr. John Tory, has correctly pointed out, Marvel hired Taika to be Taika.
Sure.
And I think Taika took that. Wow, that was a tongue twister. And just kind of ran. And I don't know, just went too far in one direction. You know, it's kind of like hiring Tim Burton. And you're like, go do Tim Burton things.
Yeah, and then
And
being
he does
disappointed.
Tim Burton things, but then he does too many Tim Burton things.
That's not even possible, sir.
It is. The last 20 years of his career are a testament to that. 20 years plus. I said it. He hasn't made a good movie since Big Fish. No, I lie. He made Big Eyes. I forgot about that. Okay, he's made one good movie. But
that's it. I'm going to Hot Topic, and I'm dressing all in black.
Listen, if you go to Hot Topic now, you're going to find a bunch of, like, Naruto shirts and Harry Potter lunchboxes, and oh man, it's just an ugly scene. The ancients have aged out. But
I'm there for the occasional Carnage t-shirt.
Not gonna lie, I've bought t-shirts there in the recent times.
Sure, who doesn't?
They occasionally have good ones. On the dad shirt wall.
Yeah.
Because you know what they've done? They've segregated out the dad shirts away from the new kids stuff.
Yeah.
All of that.
Our stuff has X's before the size in the tag, so you know that's where we gotta go.
True. So. Yeah. Coming back. I gotta do something about it. But to get back to the MCU, I mean, again, I'm ride or die with MCU. Marvel brought me into this comics world, and by gum, it'll take me out. And and I mean that, like, I'm going to die someday because my comic shelves with the boxes fall on me and crush me to death, or my wife pushes them from the other side. It could happen. She is cracking up in the background, by the way.
I like that. You're talking shit to make sure it was okay so you could talk shit. That's what you're doing.
But I do want to touch on the end of Ms. Marvel. Mike, we didn't talk Ms. Marvel before the show, and I wasn't clear as to whether or not you'd seen it.
Yes, we're all caught up. We're good.
Okay. Well, I actually had to spoil it for myself because I'm not caught up on the show. But I mean, we officially have mutants in the MCU now, and Kamala Khan is the first one.
Not entirely happy about it, but we'll get over it.
You need to get over it. And here's why. She can't be an Inhuman because Marvel wants us to forget that the Inhumans exist in the MCU. Other than the part where Black Bolt got taken out like a punk. In the alternate Black Bolt. But really, they really do want us to forget that train wreck of a TV show ever happened. So, yeah, they're gonna. I don't blame them for going the mutant route. And also though, we've got negabands, and that's important for Marvel.
It is. Because
we know the ancients that
the ancient ones
that of course. Marvel in comics has the Negaband, switches places with Rick Jones, yada, yada, yada. Who knows? Maybe Quasar is coming up in the Marvels. Could be, but then it could be. I mean, Quasar, totally underappreciated character. But anyway,
it's not bad.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for whatever else may happen with mutants. And dude, let's bring it. Like, it's time. It's go time. They teased us like dirty whores in WandaVision with the Fox Quicksilver fake out.
Yeah.
Also, they could have a dick joke. And I'm right. Like they weren't even shy about it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited, and how exactly they bring the mutants in, it's been up to speculation for a while, because a lot of fan guesswork was that seek up the machinations of Kang or Secret Wars or something like that in the near future would bring mutants straight out of Fox. Well, this kind of pokes holes in all up in that theory, and I'm fine with that, because honestly, that kind of would have been lazy. And look, everyone's too old for those roles now from the Fox movie. It just is what it is. Patrick Stewart looked hella old. Like, he just turned
God.
82, and he looked hella old in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing, I mean, if once they introduce mutants, I mean, if you think there's discourse,
it's going to get ugly.
It's great. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to catch so much shit. I don't care. The two worst fandoms are Star Wars and the X fans. Because no matter what you do, no matter what you write, there's always going to be something wrong. You're going to be wrong on your opinion, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And it's just like, I want mutants, but I don't want mutants for just because they're going to break the internet, because it's not going to be good enough.
It could be. Well, you say break the internet. It could be break the MCU, because the MCU is already pretty damn full of characters. Like, now let's throw X-Men into it, who already have a dumb amount of characters in general.
At some point in time, we're going to have to turn away from the Avengers and all of the front runners that everyone knows.
I agree.
You're going to have to expand into, Inhumans and mutants and
all the other corners of the Marvel Universe. I totally agree. The Fantastic Four, obviously.
Right. I mean, they have this sandbox filled with cash cows. Yep. Make a right turn at Albuquerque, dive on into that sandbox, and start writing stuff. Hell, can I get a reboot of Howard the Duck already? I'm 44 this year, and I'm still watching the original movie. Walking around.
The one.
Huh? Yes, I'm the one. I may be the only one, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because Howard the Duck is freaking awesome. Okay? He's the one hero that we need, and he's really the foundation of Marvel. So give us Howard. The people want Howard.
That was a loaded statement.
It's an awesome statement.
Yes.
True.
So John Tory jumped in again. He said, hard to argue your point, Michael. People suck. Yes, the internet proves that on a shockingly frequent basis. That said, Kevin Feige has a good sense of vision when inputting characters and making it make sense. Fair point.
Yeah,
fair point.
I'm sure his office is nothing but whiteboards. He doesn't have walls.
He's got so many murder boards in his room.
And they're all
in his office, like just strings and push pins and cards. And cards have cards and strings.
Oh, I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I have faith. I have faith in
I have a lot of faith, because
I'm just over this whole senseless discourse just to have discourse with no sustenance into why you have discourse.
Never let it be said that comics Twitter doesn't love to show its ass on the regular.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a wonderful little bit that happened, yesterday, where somebody took a page out of the Dark Crisis Young Justice tie-in completely out of context. And if you take it out of context, it reads like Batman is telling Tim, "I disapprove of you being bisexual." But the context of the sequence is Tim has been drugged or something, and it's a nightmare sequence.
Sure.
But because people are people, especially on Twitter, everybody blew up and they were, no, DC's made Batman a homophobe. No, we didn't.
Was that what all that was?
Yes, that is what it was.
A few threads and tried to follow it.
Comics Twitter showing its ass.
Good God.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the level of discourse on online is not something that I tend to get involved in because I value my time and sanity too much. And I also just don't want to argue with like a bunch of 15-year-olds or something. And but yeah, every now and again I will just get sucked into some kind of drama, just like as a spectator, because
we all love it.
So insane. Like, what are you people talking about? Like, Mike, when Tim Sheridan was on, those people that were bombing us with the Justice for Raven nonsense. What are you even talking about?
I still remember, as we're talking to Tim Sheridan, and he can see all these comments, I'm going, where he's never going to talk to us again.
Well, he was such a good sport about it, though. Like, he laughed. I was like, dude, what is happening here? And yeah. It was all based off of like 2 panels in the Future State Teen Titans comic. Totally ridiculous. But anyway, I think at the end of the day, Marvel is on really, really solid footing.
Sure.
I don't see that changing anytime soon. Although we live in a world where a Toy Story tie-in Pixar movie can bomb and a 35 years later Top Gun sequel can dominate. So you never know.
Who knew?
Never know. So I didn't even know that the Navy had airplanes.
Huh?
And then they're the boat people. And yeah, I had to get educated because they were like, I think it might have been you. So it was like,
I was on 2 of the damn things. Like, what are you talking about?
If the plane comes from a boat, it's a Navy plane.
Well, not necessarily. It could be a Marine plane. That's for another show. What? But quick question.
I didn't know that the Marines were allowed to fly planes.
Oh yeah.
Really?
So, quick question before we
okay. All right. Yeah, I've gotten us way off topic.
No worries. So, if this is the last Thor movie that is made, right? Okay. Love and Thunder, last one. No more Thor. Do you consider Love and Thunder the proper send off?
No. Well, okay. Ooh. It kind of could be, because the way that it ends.
I'm not talking about the cameo or whatever. I'm talking
right. It kind of closes Thor's arc in a lot of ways. The arc that really starts with Ragnarok, drags through Infinity War and Endgame, and then ends up here. It could be, because Thor gets a happy ending.
Yeah.
And the way that the mid-credits scene with Jane Foster plays, it's very open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
They could go, let's just, for whatever reason, say Chris Hemsworth is done with the role.
Yeah.
I feel like they definitely left it open for a Jane Foster return in some magical way.
Does she have a couple of movies? And I mean, they're all not spring.
Why wouldn't she? Look, she got pretty ripped for this role.
Yeah.
Right? You saw her pics, her from her workout and stuff like that. I think there's a very good possibility that Hemsworth is done with the role, because he's been in 9 movies, and I don't know the details of his contract, but 9 movies is kind of like their standard go-to, like with Sebastian Stan too, right?
Right.
But Thor will return. Well, we've got 2 Thors now. And damn it, no Beta Ray Bill. But that's another show.
Right? Yeah.
The Beta Ray Bill Love Fest is next week or somewhere in the future. But I fully expect to see Natalie Portman reprise that role.
It'd be dope. Yeah, I mean, I thought she was great as Jane. I mean, she's great as Jane Fonda. She was great as Thor. Yeah, why not?
Absolutely. So, well, that is it. I think we've dissected this to death. We've overcome laptops trying to die. We've overcome meowing cats and barking dogs and COVID brain. And all of this good stuff. And I think we came up with a pretty good show. So I just want to put you all to some knowledge. We've gone through a little bit of rebranding over at Comic Watch. We've got a sexy new logo up on the site and on the Twitter. And it's awesome. It says social justice, pride, comics. It's kind of a this is who we are moment. We're going to be putting out a lot of emphasis on diversity content and representation and making sure that people get their voices heard on the site a little bit better from a more diverse group of perspectives. So I'm really excited about that. That way it's not just like middle-aged white dudes talking about comics all the time, because there's plenty of places you can get that.
Middle-aged.
How old are you going to be this year?
34?
I heard 44. But but anyway, we got a lot of kick-ass stuff. Next week, I think we're going to talk a lot about some whatever the awesomeness is announced at Comic-Con this week.
Right.
This weekend, I should say. I'm very excited. But I'll close out, as I always do, by simply stating that the world is a crappy place, and it doesn't have to be. All it takes is one simple act of kindness, and you can change one person's world. And that said, get out there, support your local comic shop, read comic books, and above all, be good to each other, because life is short, and nobody should take their short time for the sole purpose of being a dick. Not even Gore the God Butcher. So, till next time.